Number one tonight says historic building burnt down at one of Tennessee's oldest HBCUs. What caused Knoxville College fire? Here's what we know. This came with an article, but I'm not. This article is loading funny too, so I'm not gonna try it. I don't. So what I'll do is I'll show a YouTube video on it, and then we'll discuss it. So let me just share my screen. Here we go.
All right, let's go.
Comes recovery effort. The fire that erupted on Knoxville College's Hilltop campus November 4th, with flames clearly visible from downtown. Winds and supporters of the historically black college mourning the loss. Well into the next day, hours after the Knoxville Fire Department was called to the blaze that ultimately destroyed the college's Elnathan Hall, firefighters were still pouring water to douse hotspots in the rubble while fire investigators worked to determine how the fire started. The loss of the historic building comes at a time when the college was struggling, with most of the buildings on its campus, including Elnathan Hall, closed and unused for years. The college has been pushing to regain accreditation after having lost it 27 years ago, and a search is underway for a new president. The private historically black college was founded in 1975 by the Presbyterian Church, as important connections to Knoxville's civil rights history. In recent decades, the college has struggled with debt, low enrollment, the closure of its buildings, and the loss of its national and state accreditation. Investigators seeking source of the fire, towering flames and smoke, were already visible when the fire was reported to 911 around 8:30 p.m. November 4, KFD said in a news release. Firefighters were hampered initially by the lack of a functional water system on the vacant campus, and had to run hoses uphill to the fire, which caused water pressure problems and required the assistance of tanker trucks. Knoxville Fire Department Assistant Chief Mark Wilbanks told Knox News. The fire was so large that crews couldn't enter the building and had to battle the flames from the exterior. After walls partially collapsed in the fire, the city service department knocked down the rest to prevent the remaining walls from falling over on first responders. A city excavator was digging through rubble by late morning with a fire department investigator nearby. I can't say that for 100% right this moment, but there is a strong likelihood that the fire was man-made. Wilbanks told News as the investigation continued November 5th. Until I have an investigator come back to me and say we know that someone started the fire, I can't say that. But there is a strong likelihood that is the case based on what we know now. The college has had repeated instances of people trespassing in the closed buildings on campus. A trash bin fire, believed to have been started by a trespasser, occurred on an upper floor of another building October 30th. Wilbanks said. Officials did not believe anyone died in the fire, but Wilbanks said they didn't know what they might find under the rubble.
Not sure if that video stopped with the sound or if we lost sound. I apologize for the jankiness of tonight's show so far, but I think it was important to bring that. And I want to go back to a comment that Bakari made in the chat, where Bakari said he will name two things Biden-Harris administration did for Black people: over 10 billion in government contracts for Black businesses, over 2 billion to HBCUs. Now, what's interesting is I was familiar with Knoxville, did not realize it was an HBCU. And now with this historic building being torched, we don't know if it was intentional or unintentional, but with it being torched and with this new administration coming in, will we see funding that can help rehabilitate this historic HBCU? So that's a good reason to have this discussion as well. So we could frame our conversation, along the lines of that. By the way, shout out to the matron who's out there in the chat. Shout out to Kofi, the Black Critic. Shout out to the Forecast Radio. Shout out to Anthony McPhail and everyone else who's out there in the chat. Let me start with Oni on this one. Oni, what say you to this historic building being burnt down at one of Tennessee's oldest HBCUs?
Apparently, my son's mother told me that there was a big fire in Prospect Park recently too. So it just kind of sounds like people are gonna have to get used to fires in America. But November 4th sounds pretty suspicious. If I'm not mistaken, that's like the day before the election. For a black college to go on fire the day before the election, that sounds pretty suspicious. Sounds like voter intimidation. Sounds like it sounds like let's say some people wanted Trump to win, and obviously they got it. So obviously, I mean, if the fire department's telling you that it sounds like it's man-made, and if it's on November 4th, obviously it could be a coincidence. Prospect Park burning, I don't know the story behind that. And for those who don't know, Prospect Park is probably one of the biggest parks in Brooklyn. And apparently it was like a huge fire there. So bad that apparently my son's mother was, she don't live near Prospect Park. She's saying she could smell the smoke. So it's huge fire started. I think it was maybe like 2 days ago, 3 days ago. I don't know. But yeah, like not only are things starting to go on fire, obviously, but obviously maybe somebody's doing some voter intimidation. The fires just don't randomly start in abandoned buildings anymore. It's not, spontaneous combustion was proved to be not a real thing. So yeah, there might be some political motive. I mean, it's almost like, I would say 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a political motive. But and here's the thing too: fire department didn't catch them, but who's to say the fire department's looking for them? And another thing is, are we as Black people organized to look for things? Are we as Black people organized to find the culprit of people burning our buildings? So yeah, I mean, obviously, just a reminder that there's serious things going on, and one thing that's particularly serious is just this reality of, can you combat a large fire? Because one of the weapons of the human species is fire. In fact, the way that they killed that the one person, Michael Dorner, I think his name was, the way they killed him was he got him to a building. He was like, "I'm the best sharpshooter out there," and then they burned him. They burned the building he was hiding in. They don't have to shoot you. And the only question is, can you put out a fire? And that's a serious thing. If the infrastructure of putting out fires is left to the state, and the state don't like you, because that's what happened a long time ago. The fire department would just watch your houses go on fire. Yeah, just maybe that's the thing. Because, like you said, the winner of the last election didn't really run on anything except for the fact that he except for that guys they not like us talking about you. That's it.
Appreciate that. Yeah, shout out to KW7 who's out there in the chat. He said Christopher Dorner. Yeah, that's the ex-cop who they cornered in a building. Just burned it down. I'm not gonna put the comments up tonight because of the whole jankiness of the browser and whatever. But KW7 says Black people will have to get serious about being serious. With that said, let me go to Buana next. Buana, what say you to this?
For me, it's a wait and see. Like Oni was saying, he said that it's a wait and see. It could be coincidental. It could be coincidental, the fact that this building was burned on the 4th, but it could be Brother Bakari's assumption is that one of the MAGA people did this to prove a point. So I just would like to see whether what is the evidence? What is the evidence that's going to come out of it to see what in fact actually happened? And because I don't have enough information now. I would say, well, what KW Don 7 said is true. He said that you have to get serious about being serious, and I think that with this election, with the kind of a president who has put himself in office right now, I think that black people have to become serious about being serious. And I think that as I said the last time, because Brother Bakari asked me what is going to happen, what's the next move if Donald Trump is elected. I say, well, these people have to get themselves. Well, if you ain't been preparing from before now, you should have been preparing in far as weapons training, in far as food resources, in far as several different things, and this was because of what happened for 2 years with COVID. So now you have a president who is hugely unpopular among black people, hugely unpopular. So what do you do now? What do you do now? And the only thing is you have to get organized, get prepared, and for what's to come, what's coming down the pipeline, you have to prepare yourself. Either you are or you are not. Either you are or not. Or you're going to be in a very vulnerable situation, unfortunately. So that's all I would say to this, man. I really don't have much to say about this wrong.
Appreciate that, Buana. With that said, let's welcome in our brother Kofi, the Black Critic this week. Kofi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Kobe. I'm doing good. Pretty much, yeah. With everything that they said, as far as like the evidence that they have, they really don't have any conclusive evidence of what it is. They're alluding to that, they're due to, low attendance and people not going to university and is being in financial trouble and things of that nature. I'm thinking arson. They're probably insured, but also we can't rule out the fact that, it could be to what the other brother said. It could be something that's being done malicious by MAGA people, and fire is used. That's the old civil rights tactic and weapon that they do. They either set fire to a cross or they set fire to the church that killed little girls, innocent children. That's what white supremacy has a tendency to always go after women and children. So I don't know if anyone was harmed. Hopefully, no one was harmed. But we can't say definitely if it's one or the other. But I believe that all options should be on the table, should be explored. Now, one thing that you did say in opening this segment right here that I think is very important, and right now I'm a wait and see type of person. How I see the tables being set right now, in as far as like Trump supporters and people that's going in his cabinet. You have people saying, pretty much taking credit for what. Look, I give Trump credit for signing the bill that's supposed to fund HBCUs, right? But you have all the fake, the fake pro-blackers and the Republicans and all these people that's saying that, oh, Donald Trump did it. Donald Trump did it. He just did it out of himself with thin air. It had to do with Obama, which is a lie. I want to see now that this has happened, if he's going to be on some like, oh wow, a black school, historic black college was burnt to the ground. Me, Donald Trump, since I gave you guys money the last time, I love black people. I have pictures with Al Sharpton and all these people and rappers. So of course I love black people. That's the metric for if Donald Trump is not racist or not. So I will want to see if he's going to be on some like, oh wow, let me break him off a little extra money so they can rebuild. And that's what I'm waiting to see. What happens pretty much. I mean, again, it's not pretty much I can pretty much say to this, but except for we're just gonna probably just have to wait and see what it is and what happens, and that's pretty much it.
Appreciate that, Kofi. Once again, you guys make sure to check out Kofi's show from last night. Good discussion.
Yeah, I
So
apologize for that. About my show, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off about the show. It's off right now because I said jab, and we were talking about Robert. Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that on here. I said because we were talking about vaccines and stuff like that, and I guess it got flagged as I was anti-vax, which I'm not anti-vax at all. So, I mean, when you own YouTube channels, you got to be very, very careful. So, I'm sorry for everybody that was on there. It's down right now. I'm trying to see if they try to put it back up. So, but thank you, Norm, for that, Coco, for shouting that out. But anyone curious to know what happened, that's what happened.
Yeah, that kind of stuff on here. This is why, again, we gotta. That's gonna be my thing for this upcoming 2025. Is we gotta push to get something of our own where we can all broadcast to. We can get an audience that comes through. We get people who listen to the audio later on. By the way, I don't know if you guys who are using StreamYard, I don't know if you guys have seen the price hike that they put out there. So you guys who are listening, please hit the Cash App because uh yeah, they really went up. And the thing with StreamYard is it's super convenient for hosting people. It's better than say OBS Studio in that respect. I used to use OBS Studio before, and you guys remember it was a little bit janky. You had to go on Discord to be able to be heard here, blah, blah, blah. So please hit the Cash App, not just for me, but for all the folks who are broadcasting on KWAZ Radio. With that said, thanks again, Kofi, for that. With that said, let's hear from Black Steel. Black Steel, what say you to Knoxville having this historic building burned down?
So my question is, who benefits from burning down an empty building, right? Apparently the building had been empty for years. The school was closed. They didn't have accreditation. They were trying to get it back, but my question is, what would it benefit anybody to burn down an empty, abandoned building? Maybe the symbolism, perhaps. I don't know, but I more than likely believe this is probably it was a man-made fire, but I believe it wasn't meant as a form of arson. Maybe somebody was playing around, had a bonfire, could have been a lit cigarette, anything. I don't really see the need to burn down an abandoned school with nobody in it. Had it been a school that was full of black students and people, and it was a location where people were voting, yeah, I could see, okay, this is definitely some foul play behind this. But outside of that, other than this being an HBCU, what would be the need to burn down an empty building? Sometimes it could just be, some kids playing around, smoking cigarettes, trash can fire, bonfire, whatever that get out of control. It could be, the building's abandoned. Who's to say it couldn't be faulty electrical work in there? If the power's not off, a spark something could have happened. It could be any number of things. But at this point, because of the dearth of information, I'm really gonna lean toward it just being just somebody fucking around. Honestly, I think we need more information to say that. It's terrible that it happened. I know the school was in the midst of trying to get the things they needed to reopen, but did they say how long the school had been closed? I wonder because it could have been empty for years now, and they're trying to bring it back. Trying to breathe life back into a corpse, basically. But yeah, I don't think that, as far as what I would say, anything malicious behind it. Yeah, it's man-made, but it could be just, again, people just fucking around. So I'll leave it there. Thanks.
But Black Steel, are you concerned that in the midst of them trying to rehabilitate it, now there's a new administration, and this particular administration doesn't seem like it'll be too friendly towards an HBCU. Are you concerned about funding that it
Um,
might?
I gotta say that within Black people's history, we've been here before, right? We've been in these situations where we have presidential administrations that aren't friendly to us, right? Hell, Ronald Reagan, George Bush, Richard Nixon. We've been in these positions before where we've had unfriendly presidents, unfriendly legislatures, unfriendly Supreme Courts. As far as the funding, Trump likes to be seen as somebody who is magnanimous, and he likes to be somebody in charge. I'm sure if you kiss his ass and you rub his balls, I'm pretty sure he'll give a couple of dollars to the HBCUs. That's the type of person he is. He likes to be praised and acknowledged as doing the right thing. So I'm pretty sure if you get on his good side, he would be willing to donate. But I think we have to realize that it's not just Trump in office anymore, right? They won the House and the Senate are both majority Republican. So who's to say if he writes if Congress is going to approve a bill? Remember, it's the Congress, the legislature that controls the purse strings of the government. The president can write an executive order, or the legislature can sign off on it, and the president has to sign the bill to make it into law. But it's the legislature that controls the money. So who's to say for this Republican-led legislature that they're going to do anything? Again, I don't think the focus should be on just Donald Trump. I think the focus should be on the entire apparatus of government has been captured by a party that is hostile to Black people. But again, we've been here before. So that's all I'm saying.
Appreciate that, Black Steel. Yeah, historic building burned down at one of Tennessee's oldest HBCUs. What caused Knoxville College fire? What we know. I like what the matron said. I think Kofi echoed those thoughts. Hopefully, they were adequately insured. But to have been closed for a while seems kind of interesting, and as far as insurance goes and no enrollment and whatnot. But let's hear from Brother Bakari. Brother Bakari, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm gonna go completely different than all of them. Somebody gonna have to prove to me that white folks didn't do it. See how that works? I'm like them. I'm like them the way they are to us. So when they say the building was just empty, there's no reason. So if you read the article, I sent the article to Kofi, I sent the article to Koku. That's one of the buildings that was on the state register of historical business of historical in the state of Tennessee. So when they burned it, so I would say when MAGA burned it, they burned an historic Black building. So it's not just to say, well, let's wait and see. Well, maybe some people can wait and see, but somebody gonna have to show me that white folks didn't do it. And I don't think stroking Trump ego would give an HBCU anything. He was president before, grabbed the mic and said, I did this for HBCUs, went in the back room and vetoed the bill. And a congressman from North Carolina forced him to give HBCUs a one-time payment. So he really didn't sign anything to do anything for HBCUs. This administration did, but Trump didn't do anything. I know he grabbed the mic and said it, but he never did anything. So for me, if you read the article and you'll see how this school, yes, it lost its accreditation, but like I said, that's one of the buildings that's a historic, that's considered a historic site in the state of Tennessee, and it's on a HBCU. It's on an HBCU campus that has mainly online students now, not many on-campus students, but mainly, if any, but mainly online students. But it's a historic building in the state. So yes, I would say they burned it, and it happened on the night of the election after the polls closed in Tennessee. That's how I see it.
I appreciate that breakdown, Bakari. Yeah, I couldn't put up the my computer's acting up, so couldn't put up the article. So I tried to play the video to give some background. But I appreciate you adding that part. Is there anyone who'd like to add any last comments to this prompt? Okay, I guess no one wants to add any last comments. So thank you all for that discussion. The chat was kind of quiet. Let's get the chat going a little bit. We're going to continue along the lines of MAGA, or Blaga, as Bakari calls them.